Good morning, children. Welcome to our next online class. Today I am starting your chapter 4, Cascading Style Sheet, CSS. Now, what we are going to study in this chapter, what are cascading style sheet we will study: color, background color, border style, margin, height, width, outline. Font we will study: font, family, style, size, align, float. So let us start cascading styles sheet. First, introduction we will see. CSS is used to control the style of a web document in a simple and easy way. It is a style sheet language used for describing the look and formatting of a document written in HTML. HTML is the meaning or content. The style sheet is the presentation of that document. With CSS, we can add style. For example, is given that font, colors, spacing to web document. So children, CSS is used to design your web page. HTML we are using for creating our web pages. When we are using HTML, we can design our document with presentation. We can change formatting. So CSS is the same like in HTML. You can you can give a style to your web document in a simple and easy way. The difference is that HTML which you are designing, you are writing code in that page only to design your HTML. For example, I am creating one web page, so I will give all the designing code and font style, color, background image, whatever I want in that web page, I will give in that same web page. In same HTML code I have to write. But the benefit of CSS is that you can create one CSS and you can call that CSS in HTML. So what code is ready always. If you want the same style in different web pages, then you can call with if you have to save CSS with some name, and you will call that name, automatically all the designs comes in that web page. So this is the benefit of CSS, that you design and keep ready. Whenever you want, you call that name in your HTML, your web page will be designed. But in HTML, what every web page we have to write designing code, font style code, everything we have to write again and again. But CSS is all ready one CSS with designing and style sheet, and call CSS in your web pages. So this is the difference for CSS and HTML. So with CSS you can add style like font, color, spacing, you can give to your web documents. Now first is what CSS, its full form is cascading style sheet. CSS describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on the screen, paper, or in other media. CSS saves a lot of work. It can control the layout of multiple web pages at once. So right now only I told you that CSS used for designing a web page. You can design n number of pages with that designing code. Only you have to call that CSS in your web page. So you can save your time also. So now advantages of CSS. CSS handles the look and feel part of a web page. Using CSS, you can control the color of the text, the style of font, the spacing between paragraphs, background images or color used, layout designs, variations in display for different devices, etc. So this is the advantages of CSS, that You can control the color of the text, means you will design whatever the color you want in your text, you will write in CSS and you will call. So control is in your hand. You can change anytime. Whenever you want to change your web page color, you can change it. You can give styles to font, you can give gaps in paragraph, space in paragraphs, you can call image in your web page, and what color you want to use, you can design your web page like that. And there are different things you can do in a CSS. Now CSS save times. Yes, it saves times because designing code I will write once and I will keep ready my CSS and I will call CSS in my web pages. So I save time. I can design more than web pages. Like if I am designing 20 web pages, I can call that code and it is designed very fast. 20 web pages I can design in a few minutes. So this is the benefit. You can save time, design one CSS and you call n numbers of times with CSS. So you can write CSS once and then reuse the same sheet in multiple HTML pages. You can define a style for each HTML elements and apply it to as many web pages as you want. Next is page is load faster. If you are using CSS, you do not need to write HTML tag attributes every time. Just write one CSS rule of a tag and apply it to all the occurrence of that tag. So less code means faster downloading time. So what, your page will download very fast because code is less now. If you are calling CSS, means you will write less number of codes, less number of tags you will write in HTML and you will call CSS in your HTML. So your work will finish very fast and your page will be download very fast. So this is the benefit of CSS designing. Easy maintenance. Yes, it is very easy to maintain, to make a global change. You can change it whenever you want to change your design. You change your CSS and you can do the changes and you keep your CSS. So to make a global change, simply change the style. You have to change the style only and all the elements in the web pages will be updated automatically. Suppose you had called your CSS in HTML and in 20 HTML pages you called your CSS. Now someone came and told that no, I don't want this design, I want different type of design. So what you are going to do? You will change only one CSS. Rest no need to do anything. So you can do changes very easily. You will change CSS, that 20 web pages will be formatted with that changes. So this is what very faster work, time saving, and it is easy to change 20 web pages at a time. CSS is easy to learn and understand. CSS is very easy and it is very useful also, and you can understand very easily this code. This is not very difficult code, CSS. Now these all are the advantages. Let us see the disadvantages. Disadvantages of CSS. CSS is very limited in browser capability. This means that when you design a web page using CSS, it displays web pages very differently in different browser. Yes, browser, it may be there you can see the difference if you are using a Chrome or someone is using a internet. So there is some difference when you will change browser, so you will get, because the changes you can able to see. Now what syntax you are going to write? CSS syntax. A CSS rule sets consist of selector and a declaration block. This is the main point, a main syntax, that how you are going to write CSS syntax. So selector, declaration, and inside declaration property and value is there. So this format you have to understand that selector, like h1 is selector, inside curly bracket you will give that property and value. So declaration, that is a declaration. So color is property and color colon, color name is blue, so blue is your value. So like this here, font also, font size is property, and after colon you are giving that is a value. So that is a value and then semicolon. So the selector points to the HTML elements you want to style. The declaration block contains one or more declarations separated by semicolon. Each declaration includes a CSS property name and a value separated by a colon. And a CSS declaration always ends with a semicolon, and declaration blocks are surrounded by a square bracket. So these are 4 points. This is very important when you will write CSS. First is selector. Selector points to the HTML element you want to style. Okay. Declaration block contains what? One or more declaration you can give. So here 2 declaration is given, that color is blue and font size is 12 pixel, px is pixel. And what each declaration includes what? Name and value, means property and value separated by colon. Colon is there in between property and value. You can say name and value also, same, it is same. And the last is that CSS declaration, when you want to end, you have to give semicolon at the end. So declaration block, and inside the curly brace you have to write this. So these are the 4 points that CSS syntax needs to when you will design, when you will write CSS syntax. So CSS comparisons of style rules that are interpreted by the browser and then apply to the corresponding elements in your document. A style rule is made up of 3 parts. First is selector, another one is property, and third one is value. So selector is in what? An HTML tag which a style will be applied. This could be any tag like h1 or table tag, etc. Property, what? Property is a type of an attributes of an HTML tag. Put simply, all the HTML attributes are consumed in CSS property. So they could be a color, border, etc. And the last is values. Values are designed to properties, like for example color property can have value either red or you can write code also in place of color name. Now next is CSS selector. There are different types of selectors. Let us discuss the type, ID and class selector. Type selector. Type selector selects elements based on the type name. Example, that the style rules below will be applied on all the paragraphs on the page. All the paragraphs will be align and red in color. Like first P, square bracket, color colon red. This is property, and color is property and red is value, and then end with semicolon. This is CSS code. Text align is property, colon, center is value, then end with semicolon and close square bracket. So let us see this one example, that how you are going to write CSS in your HTML document. So example is given that when you will start writing, when you want to CSS in your HTML code, you have to write HTML. This we know, that we had studied HTML chapter, that we will start HTML then head, and inside head you will write style P, then curly bracket, inside curly bracket write color colon red semicolon, text align colon center semicolon, then close curly bracket and close style. So this is CSS code which you called in HTML. So this is easy to design your web pages. Okay, thank you children. Rest we will see in next class.